Hello and welcome to Netflix vs. Cinema, the podcast that figures out whether you should stay at home and watch things or you should go to the cinema and watch things. My name is Tosin and I am the host based up in a place called Bromsgrove in the middle of the United Kingdom. Joining me on the Isle of Wight today is Shaun Harris.
Hello.
And only Shaun Harris, because we do not have a London correspondent. Sharon has taken a holiday, and so it's just the two of us. It's just the two of us nattering on about stuff. After we took last week off because I was going to say I wanted a break, but I actually ended up spending half a day in the Nigerian embassy in London. So
Excellent.
Yes, yeah. Well, in the end, I got what I did. In the end, I got what I went there for, and nobody asked me for any extra money. So I am going to call that progress. I want to call that slow progress, moving a country forward. And yes, but so let's kick off with talking about what it is that we have been watching. I mean, what is it that you've seen in the cinema in the last 2 weeks, I guess?
Yes. Okay. Well, for me at the cinema, I saw The Long Walk. That was a preview screening.
Yep.
I saw The Roses.
Yep.
And this is an interesting one. When a Spinal Tap, because it hasn't come to the island.
Really?
Right? And it says, because I looked ages ago, Spinal Tap II movie, and
Yep.
it said, sorry, it won't be available here.
What the hell?
Anyway,
Why?
So I had no idea. It actually said that on the Isle of Wight thing. It's not going to be shown. So I was over in Bournemouth the weekend, and on Saturday night, and the next door neighbour to me, mum's, I just said to him, "Do you fancy seeing the Spinal Tap movie?" We had to pay for it, and because the Cineworld that was
Because there's no
now a View.
Cineworld, and you have a Cineworld Unlimited card.
Yeah. So I had to pay for this, but I went along, and what a posh cinema it was. It was like, seriously, it was like having those like little seats where you press the button and go.
Yep. My local cinema, every seat's like that now.
Is it? Yeah. So it was like, I mean, I thought this is a bit plush, and I must admit, so it was quite an enjoyable experience. But I asked the manager, I said, you going to do cards? Like we don't do them at the moment.
Which cinema was that? Was that a chain or was that
View at Pool, the View Cinema?
Oh yeah, View. Yeah, View don't do cards. I mean,
No.
they do all sorts of things. Like if you get a Lloyd's bank account, you can go and get you get a certain number of tickets free a year, and the View that's closest to us was doing tickets for $5.99. So that's how I was doing it before I got the unlimited card from Omniplex. But no. Okay, so Spinal Tap, the end continues.
Yeah, the end continues.
Spinal Tap, the end continues, and we have bumped this film for 2-3 weeks, dead before they wake. I know that you saw it. I know you saw that. I know you saw that.
Yes.
Yeah, and I
saw. I have to remind myself.
yes, dead before they wake, and I saw the studio on Apple TV Plus, and when we have this every week, whenever I send out a text and say, this is what I've seen this week, what have you guys seen this week? And you almost always come back and say, I've been watching a lot of YouTube.
Yeah.
And I know that you've been itching. To actually talk about YouTube and all that. And it got, and you were talking about a problem, which I feel is kind of like, you know how we had the cinema to streaming problem?
Yes.
Then I feel like we now have a streaming to YouTube problem.
Yes.
Because I think it comes down to convenience. It seems to be, because you were talking about what happens when you're trying to find something on Amazon as opposed to when you're trying to find something on YouTube.
Yeah. So that's it. I mean, if I go on Prime Video, because I've got Prime Video, or when my mates, and then the mates got thing, but most of the time on Prime Video, it says you may like, and then there's like loads, and sometimes I spend like 20 minutes. Seriously, this is what happens. Sometimes I spend like 20 minutes just thinking, yes, watch a couple of trailers, no, maybe see what else on. And in the end, I think, I'll just go to YouTube and watch Jeffrey the Librarian. You know what I mean? So
Jeffrey the Librarian, I hope you're happy with your shout out. And,
YouTube.
Let's just say that Jeffrey the Librarian, you trump decades of Hollywood filmmaking available to Shaun on Prime Video. He's like, nope, Jeffrey the Librarian's where it's at.
I have watched a couple of. I've been revisiting a couple of movies, like as well. A few, but our rules say we can't review them. So
yeah, we can review them. Yeah, but if I could, just want to go back to the YouTube thing, because I think part of the problem with the going from cinema to streaming, or why we started talking about this podcast, was because at any point in time there's infinitely more to watch on streaming platforms than there is in the cinema, and it is just there. It's in your house. You don't have to get up. You don't have to get into your car. You don't have to go find parking. You don't have to go spend 15 quid. You don't have to go to go sit down in another room to watch a film or anything like that. And that was part of the problem why, like, streaming platforms actually, like cinemas, were like, oh, people. Well, it's not that we're lazy, but convenience is a thing. Convenience is a thing, and sometimes it's a good thing. Yeah, and I think it's almost so similar, because when you talk about with streaming platforms, it is a thing where you're trying to watch something and there's just too much on and you don't know, you can't figure it out. And with YouTube, number one, it's short, and B, there is going to be infinitely more stuff on YouTube to watch than there's going to be on all the streaming platforms, because it's easier to make, it's quicker to make, and But
I do actually pay the subscription. So I mean, it's a bit more expensive for some other, but I pay the subscription so I don't get the adverts. So.
So you see even that, and I feel like it's almost kind of like, there's like a streaming and YouTube thing, and I still haven't figured out with the whole Netflix or cinema thing of this show, how we shove in YouTube channels.
No.
I still haven't figured it out. But I'll tell you what, Shaun, if there's one thing that you want to talk about that you've seen on YouTube, we have one final slot for what we're going to talk about this week.
Okay.
And I will leave a slot open at the end of the show for you to talk about something that you have, for you to talk about, Pick one thing that you've seen on YouTube. It could be a channel, it could be a video, and I'll let you bring that up this week and bring that as part of the streaming smorgasbord. All right, cool. So let us kick off, and let's kick off in cinema. Let's kick off with The Long Walk.
The Long Walk, yes.
The Long Walk. So this is someone's pointed out that we said we were going to talk about Robert Redford.
Oh, we did say we were going to talk about Robert Redford. Yes,
so we're going to talk about Robert Redford. Yeah. So if you're listening,
we could maybe. I mean, I mentioned YouTube, but we could pick our favorite Robert Redford film and review that. So no.
Okay. Shaun, you've talked me into it. The final slot of the show, we're going to talk about Robert Redford. We'll talk about Robert Redford, and essentially we're going to throw the thing out, and we're going to give the man some respect that he deserves for being the legend that he is. All right, cool. Cinema. Let's kick off in cinema, and let's talk The Long Walk. Now, I was hearing on another podcast earlier this week that somebody was talking about that this is the fourth Stephen King adaptation we're going to get this year. So that there's essentially something in the water, and people have started adapting Stephen King novels again. So we had The Monkey, we had The Life of Chuck, we now have The Long Walk, and we're going to have The Running Man later on this year. The Running Man, which I'm not sure if you've seen the trailers for those, Shaun, but it looks a lot like the film Jackpot.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
It's I mean, obviously.
Crazy.
It's Edgar Wright. Edgar Wright is taking. Edgar Wright taking on.
Do you know, that's really weird? We were talking about Edgar Wright and like the Cornetto trilogy and films that I really really like Last Night in Soho and So Baby Driver.
Edgar Wright. Edgar Wright's got some stuff going on. Yeah. All right. Okay, so this is The Long Walk, and this is it's a film that was a book that was written by Stephen King under the name Richard Bachman. All the way back in the 60s. It was released in the 1970s. And the whole idea about it is that you're in a alternative America, a future America, a dystopian America, whatever it is you want to call. And in the film, what happens is that there's a lottery because this America is recovering from a civil war, and it's gone into like economic downturn. And they have this thing that they do called the Long Walk that apparently raises morale each year. And it's a televised thing where they take a boy or a young man from each of the 50 states of America. They go to one state and then they walk. And the whole idea behind this is that they just keep walking, and they walk until they walk until only one of them is remaining. And they have rules about it. They have to maintain a speed of 3 miles per hour. If they drop below 3 miles per hour, they get a warning. If they get enough warnings, they just get shot. And that's the thing, they get shot, they get killed, and this keeps happening until there's only one person left. And this happens every year. And it's this thing. And so you meet this group of 50 kids or 50, whatever, 50 people who show up, and it's about them just walking. And this film is essentially, if you want to know what this film is about, it's in the title, The Long Walk. This film is one long walk along what seems to be a never-ending stretch of road through like towns and all that kind of stuff. They're not allowed to rest. They're not allowed to sleep. They're not allowed to stop. They're not allowed, and they just have to keep going. It stars, and the film focuses mainly on two characters. There's played by Cooper Hoffman, the son of Philip Seymour Hoffman, and David Johnson, who some people might know from Rye Lane. And they play the two main characters, Garrity and McVries. And through them and through the other kids who are around them and through you just sort of like get to meet this group of people and keep going, and you see, and this is not a film that says, ooh, they might get killed, but don't worry, there'll be a last minute reprieve. There's a lot of kids getting killed in this film. Let me just put it there. There's a lot of kids getting killed in this film. And that's about the setup for the film. What happens, what goes on. You find out about why they're doing the walk, what would actually possess somebody to do this in the first place, what they all hope to get out of it, and how somehow they all think they're going to win. even though the odds are 1 in 50, they all think that they're going to win. And what did you think of this, Shaun?
Okay, well, if you want to know, I'm probably going to go totally against the grain and everyone else. Started off all right. I found it a bit dull. I found it a bit boring, to be honest. With a lot, I can understand what they were trying to do with the character build up and everything. And I just thought, what is the reason behind it? At least for something like the Hunger Games, you knew that I just couldn't see why they would. I thought, why? What is it? Surely that's a waste of young talent. There might be some talent there. What's the point? What's the whole point of the exercise? Is it just to? Is it like to subdue the population, or to scare them? Or
it's funny because obviously, I mean, this. You mentioned the Hunger Games there. This is directed by the guy who directed all but one of the Hunger Games films that we've had. So the guy he's spent a lot of time in that world, and there's some plot differences from the book where you see that he's made this a little bit more Hunger Games. Like there's things like about the way that the people are selected is a lot more Hunger Games. But I agree with you. In the Hunger Games, there's a lot more of this is the world that we're in. This is who the president is. This is why they do this thing this way. This is where these are the haves and the have-nots, and they flesh out the world a little bit more. In this film, they and I think this is something that they do in the book as well, because apparently the book was written, and many people think that it's like an allegory for Vietnam. Like the idea being that you have like you have all these young men who are conscripted in, who are shipped off, and they are totally seen as expendable. They're seen as expendable. It doesn't really matter. So
I can actually now you've mentioned it, and now thinking about it, a pointless thing to send young men to die. So right, okay.
Yeah,
an aspect I never thought of.
Yeah, and I think that's part of that is because obviously he wrote this in the 60s. Stephen King wrote this in the 60s when he was a 19-year-old himself. It was published about a decade later, and you're taking a story that was written in the 60s and was written in a very particular context in the 60s. And I think that what they're trying to do with this film, because I agree with you totally. I agree that there needs to be, you're like, where's the context? Why are they doing this? Why is this the only thing on TV that people will watch? Why do people get behind it? Why is nobody yelling saying this is barbaric? and there are all these questions. And I feel like they've what they've done is that they've tried to make sure that they sort of do it in such a way so that you can almost read what you want into it.
Yeah.
So I feel like there's people who will watch this film and they would say, yes, I could totally see, you're talking about an America in decline coming from in a civil war. And the thing is, in the book, for instance, there's no mention of America coming out of a civil war or anything like that. It's just this alternate dystopian thing. Yeah. But they've put that stuff in this film, and I think it's because you're supposed to read where you're into it. But I agree with you that it does ask the question. It makes you ask the question, okay, why the heck are you doing this? Why is this your solution? And you have Mark Hamill, who shows up and chews the scenery as the major. Mark Hamill, and bearing in mind, talking about the Stephen King films, Mark Hamill's second Stephen King movie of the year.
Wow.
Yeah, because he was in Life with Chuck as well. Mark Hamill's second Stephen King movie of the year.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and so he's playing the major growling, going, "Oh, yeah, boys are doing great. I'm so proud of you boys." And everything. And yeah, like, who is he? Why is he coming up there? All that kind of stuff. And
he's so popular. Yeah.
Yeah, so I 100% agree with you.
Yeah. Also, the one, it's a stupid moment, but it was a Vietnam man again. Well, actually, there's a couple, but the really one that really got to me was the one character that I thought had probably the best chance of winning it.
Yes.
Does something absolutely stupid, totally out of character. So they've been walking all that time.
Yeah.
Walking all the time. You've got to know a few of the characters. You're right about the two main ones.
Yeah.
And he's in it. He's on the peripheries, and I'm like, well, that's the one that you would give. Do you know the guy? You know the.
I know exactly who you're talking about. Even at the beginning, they look at him and they kind of go, "Yeah, he's going to win."
I don't understand why he would do something like that. You know.
And I think, and this is part. First of all, I think that they've done a very good job adapting what looks. It's about a whole bunch of kids going for a walk, and every now and then one of them gets shot. And I think making it into a film, I think that they've actually done quite a good job on that. Yeah. But part of the problem I feel is like they show elements of it as to what would walking for that amount of time and not being allowed to sleep, what would that do to your mind? What would that do to your body? They show bits of it, but I feel like if they'd shown more of it, that like somehow what was going on in these people's minds, some of these things would have made more sense. Like there is a character that essentially...
You're going to talk about him, and I bet I can take the character you're going to talk about. Anyway, yeah, go on, carry on.
Well, he's the one that everybody ostracizes because of something that he does early on. Yeah,
come up with that one, man.
So everyone ostracizes. And he ends up doing something, and they kind of hint at it. But I feel like, I guess with 50 people, you can't really sort of give that for everybody. But I feel like there's like, for instance, one of my problems about it was these people are walking for the best part of a week. Yeah. And by the time it ends, because spoiler alert, this film actually ends eventually. By the time it ends, I don't feel like if somebody hasn't been allowed to sleep for a week or anything like that, I feel like you would look at them and be like, "Whoa, man, you look like death."
Yeah, it's on, yeah.
Yeah, and they don't really look that dead and I feel like if they did look a little bit more, like for instance, okay, you know that there's one character who walks for so long that he becomes unresponsive. Yes. He becomes unresponsive, and he's just going there, and his head's down, and his baseball caps and everything like and he's walk. And like with him, for instance, right? I think they showed enough of him to show you that this guy's deteriorating, so that when he eventually does what he does, you're like, okay, cool, yeah. I kind of understand it.
No, I know exactly what you're talking about.
And it's so
isn't it funny? Isn't it funny though that the characters that we know, the ones we're talking about, so we must have.
Yeah, well, I feel like the film is very definite about what it does because it had to be like, and also another thing, Shaun, it was written by the guy who wrote and directed Strange Darling.
Right. Okay.
Remember that?
I remember Strange Darling.
I remember you quite like that, and and so I think that they've done quite well in sort of like streamlining it, and there's bits where they try and tell you with the dialogue what people are doing, what people are thinking. Sometimes I have to admit, with some of the different regional American accents, I found it hard to understand what people were saying, but I think that they did a good job, but there are a couple of niggles where you're like, that, and there's a bit where the central pairing, it's veering into the trope. Like there's a trope in Hollywood called the magical Negro trope.
Right. Okay.
Where it's all about where you have like a white main character, and then you have the legend Will Smith, the Legend of Bag of Ants, for instance. This happens over and over again, like Driving Miss Daisy. You have a white main character, and they have a black secondary character, and the only reason the black secondary character exists is to help the white character achieve their dreams, because they have some sort of mystical, but they don't really have any. They don't really have any life.
Redemption
It's kind of like, but the black actor doesn't really have any agency, doesn't really have any life of their own, and there's bits where this film between David Johnson and Cooper Hoffman, it strays into that a little bit, and I think that they kind of pull it back. But all in all, at the end, I think I would actually give this film a 4. I mean,
would you? Yeah, I'm afraid.
I think just about,
Right, okay.
because there are some things which like essentially to give it a 4. There's some things I have to ignore, and I have to say I kind of see what you're doing there, but I want to understand why the heck this thing is happening in the first place. I want to understand why people are behind it.
I mean, for me, I found it a little bit dull after a while. It sort of started to get on my nerves a little bit after a while. So, I mean, I can see the intrinsic quality of it. I can see what they're trying to do. I quite like what you've informed me about the allegory, which I think, yeah, I could see that, like, craziness and other different things. That's put a little bit more of a slant on it to me. But I'm still only going to give this a 3. I think this is a 3 for me.
And I totally understand. I totally understand and largely agree with you. So it's kind of like, all right, cool. Are you ready to talk about Dead Before They Wake? Finally,
I can. Yeah. We can talk about. If I'll have to try and remember it. I think I've still got the thing up there. So okay.
Yeah, because it's funny. Because, did you ever see a film called Things to Do in Denver When You're Dead?
I did, and it's quite a while ago.
Oh yeah, we're talking like 1994 or something like that. Yeah, so when you said Dead Before They Wake, that I was thinking Things to Do in Denver. I was like, no, that's a different film. But yeah, anyway, cool. Tell us about this.
Well, this is quite a dark film. It's like a bit of an independent film, and basically this it's about trafficking, and there's this blind man, and his daughter's. He doesn't know his daughter disappears and all that. So he makes friends with. I can't remember the names now. Sorry, because it was that long.
Yeah, it was a while. It was a while back. Yeah, I can imagine.
And so he tries to find out. So it's basically the standard trope of an investigation where you've got a really hard man that you can see there by the baseball bat that. Does some damage, and you get the idea. So
I'll then put it this way, Shaun. I'm already getting Taken vibes.
Yeah, Taken vibes. Yeah, that sort of thing. This works at a much slower pace.
Oh,
and it's got it's really strange.
A film like this, you don't want a slow pace.
No. That's it, and it is a little bit slow like that. And there's a few other little side stories, like the chap who's let's just say he's an ethnic person who's in charge of the trafficking thing. He's got a daughter of the same age as the girl that's trafficked, who doesn't really know stuff. He's a bit suspicious, and so you got that little thread going through it, and then something happens. They want to get rid of people. It's can be quite confusing in parts, and there's but the violence is violent, shall we say? So, really, it's just like Taken vibes, I would think, but not. He's not as clever. He's not as clever as He doesn't have the resources that.
He doesn't have the very particular set of skills.
I will find you and I will kill you. He does do some damage to a lot of people, and I think. I sort of thought it was all right. I didn't think there was anything too stupid in it. And as I say, at the end, at the end act, when the chief criminal's daughter finds out and stuff, and it's like, it goes a bit strange there. So
yes,
it was like, what are you doing this day? Because he's basically, you've got no idea that he's.
She's oblivious to what he does.
She's oblivious to what he's doing, and she's quite well off and all that. And he goes, so it's basically a little bit of a race against time as well, because they want to ship the Taken. They want to ship the girl off somewhere. Go out of the way, get. So a Scottish Taken, I guess.
Well, it's kind of like, remember there was a film called, I think it was Bad Day for the Cut.
Bad Day for the Cut, yes.
Bad Day for the Cut, which I've reviewed and I described as an Irish Taken.
Yeah,
it was like, but it's kind of like, what happens if you take all the Hollywood glitz and glamour off it? Yeah. What happens if you film it like mostly in a field in Ireland? What happens? And it's kind of like one of those. This sounds like it's like a lower budget British take on something like Taken.
Yeah, and it is, as I say, it's a very, very slow burn. Sylvester McCoy is like the dad, so Doctor Who, which so
I think his late stage acting career really intrigues me because he either shows up in stuff like this or The Hobbit.
Radagast, So on the whole, with this film, as I say, it's quite good. It's not too silly. Silly. There's not like stupid moments, but it is quite a slow pace for the type of film it should be.
Yeah.
And I did think at times, can we move this on a bit? It's a bit wordy. It's a bit, what you do. But on the whole, not a bad watch. I would say I'd probably give this a 3. I don't think I'd ever watch it again. But it was a standard film. It wasn't awful. It wasn't terrible. There wasn't nothing that made me get out of here. I'm not having that.
Yeah.
So this for me, a 3-star, standard 3-star.
All right, cool. 3 stars for. I was about to say Bad Day for the Cut. No, Dead Before They Wake.
Dead Before They Wake. Yeah, same amount of words. I think, is it or not?
I think Bad Day for the Cut is one more word.
One more word. Yeah.
I was never good at mental arithmetic. All right, cool. And now let's go back to cinema and let's talk about Benedict Cumberbatch and Olivia Colman trying to kill themselves, a la Michael Douglas and Kathleen Turner. Yeah. Because even when I heard the name of this film, I was like, this sounds like it might be a remake of The War of the Roses with but and it is based on the same source material. So from what I understand, it's Benedict Cumberbatch and Olivia Colman. They've been married for a while. They start not liking each other, and then they try to kill each other.
That's it. That's standard fare, really. So So what you've got is Benedict Cumberbatch he's this artist. He's an architect, and he's got this really big project that's supposed to look like a ship. You know what I mean? And everybody's
yep.
It's quite funny. And there's a storm, and he's got these sails and things, and the whole thing becomes a disaster one. So basically, the company says we don't want you no more. And his wife, she really really likes to cook. But that's all she wants to do is cook, look after the kids. But she's got a little diner, and someone just happens to turn up, and they like it, and then it becomes really, really popular. So she starts going on TV. She's got a bit of fame. She's making the money. Benedict looks after the kids, and they become quite, athletic, and they're sort of he gets a different regime for them rather than eating all the bad stuff. And so when when she's cooked, they're like, oh no, we can't have that, because it. And so she gives him money to buy the dream house so he can do something else because he's obviously getting depressed with her making all the money. And then, as I say, so for doing all this, so she's constantly in demand. She's missed out with the kids. She's missed out her time with the kids, and she starts to feel a bit. And he's like, "Well, you were never." So the argument ensues, and then there's it just goes on. Starts off verbally, and then comes very much throwing things and trying to do lots of damage. I think this film was probably they just really, really enjoyed doing it because it is very, very. The dialogue between them is quite, that's all part of the very sharp, very witty, very, like you would get with those two characters.
Very, I feel like very sharp, very victory, very, very. Very, very British, very almost sort of stage play.
Very British, yeah. So, very sort of, what's the word? Nasty, but in a restrained, smiley sort of way. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, yes, 100%,
Like a cutting remark, but not like an angry remark. Just that's really, really nasty, but it's done in a, posh, repressed way. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's quite good. So the some of the tete-a-tete between them is quite witty and quite funny.
Yep.
So, and some of the should we say when they try to kill each other, it's a bit, just happens that someone's got a gift of a gun. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's like, what do you do? Anyway, so you got all these, you got these bottles and pans and things that are thrown at each other, and thinking about poisoning and all sorts of stuff. Normal, pretty much like if you've seen Wars of the Roses with Michael Douglas and Kathleen Turner, it's a very British remake.
And this is where I was actually wondering about. I was wondering about how this would work because I feel like when you start doing that sort of trying to kill each other bit of the film, that can get a little bit slapsticky.
Yes.
And I think it's actually very difficult to do that and have it work and have it not feel like jumpy or stilted or like contrived. And I feel like in War of the Roses, that's one of the places where they nailed it. And it feels like when they're trying to kill each other and it's going back and forth, they're actually trying to kill each other, but at the same time, it's kind of funny.
Yeah,
it's kind of funny. It's kind of slapsticky. It's kind of like Tom and Jerry, only if Tom and Jerry was real.
Yes, yeah.
and so with this, do they get that mix right? Do you think?
Yeah, I think they do in parts. I think more the dialogue more so than the actual weapon,
the actual throwing things and shooting things.
I think it's very sharp, very witty, very underplayed. So that part worked. When it came to the trying to kill each other in different ways, it didn't have quite that. It didn't have that feel as though they were serious about it. Do you know what I mean? It was because sometimes when you get into such an anger, you just like but you just I just never had the feeling that they hated each other enough to actually. I don't know. It was so that bit, but as I say, verbally, the dialogue was really, really, quite,
on the money,
quite sharp and quite clever and on the money. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. So let's have a look. So on the whole of this, I didn't mind. It was better than I thought it was going to be. It was but again, this is going to be just a 3-star film. 3-star. This will be another 3-star.
All right. Cool.
Standard 3-star. Yeah.
3 stars for The Roses, and I don't know why, but there's something about the poster of this film that made me think, or which you have behind you at the moment, but there's something about the poster of this film that really made me think it was a Netflix film. It's there's something about it. I mean, maybe it's all the white, and then I think there's some red on there as well. But it just made me think. I just thought, oh, this is Netflix, but it's
it does seem like a streaming movie. Yeah, that's that. Do you know? You got a point. Sometimes that is, isn't it? It's like sometimes when plays, when someone does a play as a movie. As a movie. I think there was one which was Denzel called Fences.
Yes, Fences. Yeah.
Very, very much. I remember thinking this is like being at the theatre. This is like a stage thing. So, I mean, this felt, if you can have such a thing, this felt like a streaming movie, like Netflix or Amazon or one of those would have actually made this film.
Yeah, and that is actually a thing. It is really a thing when you look at it and you think this feels like a streaming movie. It's becoming more and more of a thing. And it's one of the things where you understand I understand exactly what you're saying, but you can't quite put your finger on exactly why. you can't but you know exactly. But all right. Anyway, let's move on to some more streaming stuff, and we're going to talk about The Studio on Apple TV Plus. And Shaun, I know that nowadays you are mostly a Prime Video and YouTube guy.
Yes.
But if you could get to watch this, I think you would.
What streaming platform is it on?
Apple TV Plus.
Apple TV Plus, right? Okay.
Yeah. I think you would love this because the whole idea behind this is that the show starts off and it starts off and you meet Seth Rogen, and Seth Rogen, he's on a film set because he's a film executive for a movie studio called Continental Studios. I mean, even and one of the things you love, Shaun, even the titles for this are done like an old school, like RKO studio thing from the 70s and everything. And he's this studio executive who just loves movies, and he enjoys being part of them and all that. And at the beginning, they find out that the head of the studio is about to be sacked, and the head of the studio is going to be sacked because this conglomerate has taken over the studio, and they said, you're not making enough money, you're making all these arty films, are not making enough money, and so he's like, he wants to go up for the job. And then Bryan Cranston shows up as the guy who's the head of this studio, Griffin Mill. And he says, we want to make you
Mill. That's a great name.
Griffin, yeah, it's actually, if you look up that name has been used in another film about Hollywood satire kind of thing, and they did that on purpose. And it's like, and so he shows up and he's kind of like, are you my guy? And this guy wants the job because he just loves him. He's like, yeah, of course I'm your guy. And he takes over the studio, and then everything that comes up in the next, I think it's 10 episodes, it's essentially all about trying to make films and trying to say, I want to make a good film, I want to make the next Godfather. But no, the money people say you've got to make the Kool-Aid movie. and this, the way this is shot, right? This show is shot, and every shot in it is like a long take. So I think the average length of a shot in this show, is probably about 5 minutes. And it's so well done because the first shot is like you see them, they get off from a film set, get into a golf cart, drive from one area of the studio to another area of the studio, and after a while you're like, hang on a second, they haven't cut. You just realize they haven't cut. So it's very artistically done the way they put it all together. And they have all these different episodes. There's one episode that's essentially they keep talking about the film that they're making at the studio, at the fictional studio, the film that they're making. They say it's just a ripoff of Chinatown. And the episode itself is kind of like a ripoff of Chinatown, like the way it's done. Wow. The episode is like a ripoff of Chinatown. There's an episode called The Oneer, and it's all about them. It's about a director trying to get a Oneer shot, so trying to get like this one shot thing. But the episode itself is shot as a Oneer, so that this whole episode, 30 minutes, there's no cuts in the entire thing. And I think, I'm not sure if you ever watched Frasier or liked Frasier. But
I mean, I was aware of it, but I was never really one to watch Frasier.
And Frasier had different modes. So Frasier, you were talking about the roses earlier. We're talking about how it's all about the language and everything like that. And there's bits in Frasier where it's all about the language. But then you have episodes of Frasier where it's all about this situation. It's just a farce. It's like your classic British farce where things just keep building and building and building. And then, somebody puts something down at the beginning of the episode and you're like, oh my God, that's going to come back. That is going to come back and that's going to mean something. That thing's going to mean something. But then you forget about the thing that they put down and then it comes back and it does mean something. And you're like, oh my God, yeah. And there's so many episodes in this where things just keep building and building and you're like, oh my God, they can't go anymore. And then they have all these, because it's set in Hollywood, they have all these cameos from like A-list people. Like, for example, this way, Martin Scorsese plays himself.
Wow.
Martin Scorsese shows up in the first episode playing himself. There's a very, very funny, heartbreaking bit where they make Martin Scorsese cry. It's like, if you look at the people, they have Dave Franco. Dave Franco shows up and everybody is playing weird, massive, crazy bits of the versions of themselves. There's a bit where they go to the Golden Globes episode. Oh my God. They go to the Golden Globes. So yeah, and this whole thing, if you love movies, this is good. If you don't really like movies, it's still a very good workplace comedy. But we just had the Emmy Awards, and this thing won a whole bunch of awards because
that does sound good.
It is very good, and because I think they could just have made like a knockabout comedy because hey, it's Seth Rogen, and Seth Rogen is like, he made his name making all these sort of like slacker comedies where it wasn't really about how it was shot or anything like that. But you watch this and you realize they have put a lot of time and effort and thought into how this is filmed and what they're referencing. And it's the kind of show that, Shaun, you would watch and you would see a whole bunch of references to a whole bunch of 70s movies that I do not notice.
You're tempting me.
No, but honestly, the studio, it's a very high fall. It's a very high fall. Cool. It is really close to a 5, and I would, it's a very.
I shall take that on advice then. I shall take that on advice.
Yeah, if you know anybody who has an Apple TV Plus, go around and watch it. Go around and give yourself, because they're only half an hour as well. So it's only.
Oh, that's good. Actually, that's pretty good. That, because you can get a couple in, 2 or 3 in, can't you?
Yeah. They're only half an hour, but I would say it's really, really good about the way Hollywood actually works. And like, there's a line where the guy says something like, he's like, I got this job because I love movies, but now I feel like my job is to ruin them. And there's an episode with Ron Howard. The Ron Howard episode.
What, Richie? Oh, Richie Cunningham, yeah?
Richie, yeah. And the whole thing about it is that there's an episode with Ron Howard, and everybody is terrified of Ron Howard because they feel like, everyone thinks, oh, Ron Howard, nicest guy in Hollywood, but they go, no, actually, he's actually very mean. He's actually a very mean, horrible person.
I like it when that happens.
Yeah, and the whole idea of that episode is that he's made this film, and there's something in this film that everybody thinks this is bad, but nobody can bring up the courage to tell him that it's bad and they need to get rid of it. But yeah, anyway, I would recommend The Studio. The Studio is very good. And now let's go back to cinemas and let's talk Spinal Tap: The End Continues.
Yeah, Shaun, Spinal Tap.
So I'm guessing that you must have watched the original Spinal Tap.
I did watch the original Spinal Tap. Yeah, I did watch the original Spinal Tap. Have you not seen it? Obviously,
I've never seen the original Spinal Tap.
You're probably aware of bits of it, though, are you? No?
Oh yeah, I'm aware of bits of it. Turning it up to 11, like it's like using the wrong thing to build a Stonehenge that's not the right size. The drummers keep dying. It's like
That's it.
I know of all these things because it just bleeds in. It's one of the things that bleeds into the consciousness, bleeds into the culture, and but I've never seen it. I've never seen it. Right. So with this, I feel like I can't watch this without watching that, and but anyway. But you like the original Spinal Tap, right?
I did like the original Spinal Tap, yeah.
Okay, with that in mind, tell us about this.
Okay, so the original Spinal, so this takes place 40 years after. So this is 40 years after the original, the last tour of the Spinal Tap, and they broke up. So, and the daughter of the manager, the guy who used to manage the band,
the
daughter, she's found something in the contract that they had. That they have to do one last performance.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit of a story of them of trying to get them together. So they go and they see the guitarist, and he's running a cheese shop with his guitar and cheese shop. So anyway, and he sort of says like bring him by. Anyway, he goes, yeah, we'll be up for it. And then so they get the lead singer, guitarist, and he goes, yeah, we'll get together. And the little drummer, and I was in hysterics in some bits, but so the drummer, he's got a glue museum, right? He's got a glue museum. So they go and see him. He goes, oh yeah, I've been running this glue museum for a while now. I got all these glues. I got these, and this is right. He goes, oh yeah, and this one's like really strong. And he says, anyway,
what's that significant?
Have you ever seen the Dumb and Dumber where the old
oh yeah.
So yeah, that's anyway.
Wait, gets his tongue stuck to the ski lift.
But this one, so it's sort of stuck. Anyway, so that's the story. So they decide they're going to go to New Orleans to this recording studio.
Yeah,
that is actually. So they're living in this house come studio, but it's a ghost house as well. Where in New Orleans, these tours will come through for go, oh, what are you doing? When they're eating and stuff. So that's all. And so they get the rehearsal and they can't. They're trying to get the drummers, obviously, and they talk to some really famous drummers. I mean, it's one was a black drummer, but I'm not sure what band he was with. But he was obviously quite famous drummer.
Yeah.
Goes, well, I'd love to, but I'm really, really quite busy. I mean, I love your stuff or your stuff, and, right? Yeah. But they don't want to because obviously,
because all the drummers keep dying, so nobody wants to come drum for them.
Yeah. I think they get the Chili Peppers drummer as well. They got him on.
Oh yeah.
Oh, will you come and he goes? Well, I'm afraid that I've got other commitments. I'm going to go and do this thing. He goes, I'd love to, love your music. I won't do that. And anyway, they do find a drummer. So who turns up, they audition and so that part quite good.
I mean, the thing with this was like, what I really want to know is, especially for someone like you who is a fan, because I think this film is going to rise and fall on how fans react to it.
Yes.
And I'm actually really, really pleased to see that earlier on you were laughing so hard that you could hardly get your words out. So, so did you enjoy this compared to the first one?
I did enjoy this one. As I say, I should have really seen the first one before I went and watched this again because it's quite a while since I actually have seen the original. But this one, and there's Paul McCartney turns up and sort of joins him for a jam session, and and then he goes off and they're all like, oh, he's not very good, is he? He's not, you know what I mean? And they're like, oh, I didn't like him much anyway. And so, and Elton John, he's sort of, and then
I've heard that obviously they have the cameos, and because of the space that Spinal Tap has, they can get big names who can come into this thing and be in this film.
Yes. Yeah. So anyway, and obviously Stone when they do the concert this time they've got, whereas before in the first one it was like instead of doing it in feet, they did it in centimeters,
Yes.
But, in this one it's an absolutely giant big granite thing, and let's just say that as always something happens.
Yes.
So I mean, I actually really, really enjoyed this, and as I say, it was at the cinema. I went to the View Cinema, so I was because I like to slouch back, and so the seats
you had the recliner seats,
and actually what was there in the cinema, and I said there were three lads that were obviously, I was sort of talking to them. They go, "You've seen the original like that?" And I said, "I bet you're all in bands, aren't they?" He goes, "Yeah, we are, but we're all in different." He goes, "We're all in different bands, but one of them, one of them had the levers on and all that sort of stuff."
Yeah.
They must have only been about 19 or 20, but yeah. So that was quite good. So yeah, I found myself enjoying this probably more than what I should have, because there were moments where I was in hysterics, and yeah, I think my laughter was making these other dudes that were in there, they were laughing as well. So I had probably big fans of the original won't like it because I know they don't like the second one. But I had really good time with this, so this will have to be a 4 for me, I'm afraid. I did really enjoy it. I don't know because it was a different cinema and the cinema is luxurious, but I had a good time.
That does make a difference. I found that does when you're in luxurious cinema and it actually feels like an event. I think that really does make a difference. Yes. But no, it's I'm actually really glad to hear this, because it's a kind of thing where I think there were some people who love the original so much that they are already going into this going like, it's rubbish, I'm going to hate it.
Yeah, straight away. They don't even give it a chance.
Yeah, that straight away they're like, this is rubbish. I can't believe they're making this film. And it's a bit like how I felt with Coming to America, the sequel. Right. I thought it was a bunch of, how dare they? So it's like, but all right, cool.
As I say, the thing is, right, Toes, just on this note, while we're talking about this, is I think it's like, could they have called Coming to America, the second one, something different, and you might not have minded it so much? Because it's like me with the preciousness of Assault on Precinct 13.
Yes.
If Assault on Precinct 13, the remake,
when they made the remake,
Siege of a Police Station or something like that, I probably would have enjoyed it. So and I think
because I agree with you there, because it's not a bad film. It's just not a classic when the first one is.
Yes, yeah.
And why remake a classic? Yeah. It's like, so I understand with you. It's like I have my thing with Blues Brothers and Blues Brothers 2000. I've never watched Blues Brothers 2000. I've refused to, and it's like so. Yeah, if they'd called it something else, if it'd been something else and it'd just been Eddie Murphy coming back or anything like that, it would have been like, hang on, this looks very much like Prince Hakeem. But yeah,
you might have been more forgiving.
I might have been more forgiving, but I would. Yeah, let me put this: I might have actually watched it. I have refused to watch that film because, and nothing I've heard has made me even think that I'm missing out.
Actually, what's quite funny, I don't know if we got time, but up at the theatre they've got the Blues Brothers and Commitments, like a little show with thing. Yeah. So I mean, I won't go and see it because I think the Commitments is overrated as well. I didn't.
I've never seen the Commitments.
No. I wouldn't bother, Toes. I know people say about it.
I know people love the Commitments and talk about it and talk about the music and everything, but I've never seen it. But one of these days it will show up on some streaming platform. But now the time has come. We have said that I'm forgetting about who's won this week or anything like that, because we just want to put some time aside to talk about Robert Redford. Robert Redford, who died at the age of 89, a couple of days before we recorded this. And yeah, I mean, look, if you want to look for an eloquent obituary, sort of like, dedication to the man, you will find that in other places. There's loads of places where I've spoken about that. But Shaun, you said something about that. You said that maybe you should just sort of talk about picking favorite Robert Redford films. Or, I mean, we have a running thing about Robert Redford on this show anyway, because Shaun is convinced that Brad Pitt is actually Robert Redford's son. And if it isn't his son, he is his reincarnation, because Shaun keeps seeing films, especially as Brad Pitt grows older, and going, hang on a second, this guy looks familiar.
Yeah.
And I think there's another thing you were talking about. You were talking about the fact that there seems to be parallels, like how Brad Pitt's in the baseball movie Moneyball, and Robert Redford was in the baseball movie The Natural, and Brad Pitt's in a racing movie F1, and I'm pretty sure Robert Redford wasn't he in Le Mans? He was in a Le Mans movie in the 60s or something like that.
Yeah, but for me, I mean, he made his. I think he came to fame really in Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid.
Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, yes.
That was the main one, and I mean, again, he started the Sundance Festival, didn't he?
Yep, in Utah.
So the Sundance Festival, which there are some really quite good.
Well, to be honest with you, I think Quentin Tarantino owes a large part of his career to the Sundance Film Festival.
Yes.
Because I think there were a couple of years where everybody was going after because Reservoir Dogs, I think, premiered. That was where it made a big splash.
Yeah.
Same thing with Pulp Fiction. And I think after a while, I think Quentin Tarantino and the Sundance Film Festival were just kind of like partners in crime kind of thing.
Anonymous, yeah.
And that was Robert Redford who started it because he wanted to unearth like new voices in American cinema. So, and yeah. So, yeah. Anyway, you were saying.
Have you got a favourite film of his?
I was trying to remember the first film I actually ever saw him in. The thing is, this might not be my favorite because I mean he's done a lot of stuff, and I came to him later in life. So I think by the time I actually heard the name Robert Redford, he'd become a director and he directed Ordinary People in the 80s. Uh-huh. But there is a film that he did with Jane Fonda, not Barefoot in the Park. This is one that he and Jane Fonda did when they were older, and it's called Our Souls at Night. It's a film on Netflix called Our Souls at Night, and it's about them being like this older couple. His wife's dead, her husband's dead, and then she comes to him with like a proposal of let's start sleeping together, not sex, just sleeping together, because I'm sure that you, like me, are in that old house. And it's a really, really sort of like, just this. It's a really sweet film. It's a really sweet film with them in their older age and everything like that, finding each other, and about how romance might look different when you're older and the different things you have to worry about with children and grandchildren. And I have a real soft spot in my heart for him in that film, for him and Jane Fonda in that film. I think they're brilliant in that film. So that's a film that when I think about Robert Redford, going maybe a bit off the beaten path, but I would say Our Souls at Night.
Good. I mean, there's a spy novel called 3 Days of the Condor.
Yes. That's a classic that I've never seen.
Yeah, you've seen that one. And he was.
No, I've never seen it. I've never actually
seen it. Yeah, that's really good. That's a clever movie. And there's also a Western which doesn't come up very much. It's called Jeremiah Johnson.
Yep.
And it takes place. It takes place in
that's the one with him with the proper beard.
With the proper beard, yeah, and the butt skins and all that. So yeah. I mean, and there are some films you sort of forget about that he was in. All the President's Men.
Yes, All the President's Men. Because I think the thing about him is that he also, because he was an activist, and I don't think he's the kind of person who made films just to make films. I think he always wanted to say something. I feel, and I think I really appreciated that, or I really respected that about him. And he did a lot of stuff, and obviously after the Marvel Cinematic Universe, he showed up and.
Tosin, I sometimes wonder if you're like, I was just about to say that, and you almost jump in. It's like, did you just suck that from my mind? Because I was going to say because he played a really good part in that, and he was really. He did really
Alexander Pierce in The Winter Soldier, and he was brilliant.
He was brilliant. In that.
There is a real strong case to be made that he is probably one of the best Marvel bad guys.
I think what it is he's a bad guy, but he could come across as
genial. He could come
a good guy, you know. Yeah, everybody would like. Well, he's not. But anyway.
Yeah. Ooh. Okay, so I've been looking at his filmography, and this is where I found out about him. The first film that I actually heard about Robert Redford. Because I remember I was in Nigeria, this film came out, people were talking about it, and I was kind of like everyone's talking about this Robert Redford like he's a big deal. And I didn't get it because I was just like, he's an older white actor. And it was Indecent Proposal. That was the first Indecent Proposal. So I'm looking at his 90s to the 2000s output, and Sneakers, Indecent Proposal, Up Close and Personal with Michelle Pfeiffer, which is essentially the Star is Born, but in a newsroom. The Last Castle. I remember that film with James Gandolfini. The Last Castle, yeah, with James Gandolfini. Spy Game, with him and who's in Spy Game with him, Shaun?
I don't know who's in Spy Game with him.
Brad Pitt.
Yeah,
and they actually have.
Yeah. Sorry, I was thinking of Spy versus Spy.
Yeah, no, Spy Game where he's like a sort of mentor sort of student relationship kind of thing.
No, that's right. Yeah, sorry, I thought you were talking Spy versus Spy with that silly whatever it was. That was who was in Spy versus Spy?
Was that, I don't know, Peter Sellers?
Tom Hardy, I think.
Oh, that Spy versus Spy.
Yeah,
yes,
that's
yes.
what I was. Tom
Hardy and Chris Pine.
Yeah,
Reese Witherspoon.
Yeah, that's the one I was thinking of. I was trying to work out. I was like, oh right, okay,
yeah. But if we look at that, I mean, and he had up to that, I think that he had a really, really good run in that. There was a film I always wanted to see but never got to see, which essentially is just him on screen with almost no words, and it's just Robert Redford, called All Is Lost.
Oh, that's the one with the boat.
That's the one in the boat, and the one in the.
That's brilliant.
I heard so many things about that film. People said that he should have won an Oscar for it, but I never actually saw it. It was one of those films that ended up on my Netflix list, and then it left Netflix, and I never actually watched it. Yeah. So it's like, but Robert Redford is one of those guys. 89. That's a good innings.
That's a good age, mate. That's a good age.
It's a good age, and all I can say is this might be a little bit morbid, but I really, really hope that it was peaceful. I hope that it wasn't. Because I know we recently lost Gene Hackman as well, and everything I read about Gene Hackman's death just made me so sad. That was the way it went out, and I really hope, because I know it's films. I know it doesn't mean that much in the grand scheme of things. I know that there's a lot more things that I know worse things happen at sea and all that kind of stuff. But I do look at this and go like, he gave a lot to something that we both love. He gave a lot to something that we both love. He gave a lot to something that a lot of people around the world love. And if there's a way of just saying thank you to the dude, and I hope he went peacefully.
Yeah. I concur with that. I'm sure he did. So and we just hope on that. And we'll probably get to see a few of his films come out now.
A few of them get released in cinema. Oh yeah, Robert Redford season. If they put All Is Lost in the cinema, I think I might have to go.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to go.
Yeah.
So that's it. We've lost Robert Redford at the age of 89. But with that being said, we will leave you with that. Please do get up in touch. Tell us, what was your favorite Robert Redford film, or what is your most off the beaten path Robert Redford film that you think, I love this and nobody even knows it exists. Get in touch with us on Instagram, Netflix Cinema Pod, on Twitter, Netflix with Cinema. We also on Facebook and just on YouTube. Yes, on YouTube as well, Netflix with Cinema. It will be great to hear from you, good to chat to you. But until next week, when we'll find something to talk about.
We will. Yeah. I'm just trying to think what's out. I think there's a secret screening on Monday. I think Monday there's a secret. So I don't know what that's going to be. I don't know. Do I go and see the old what's the stately home one?
Downton Abbey.
Do I go and see that? Funny enough,
Abbey, the big finale or whatever it is.
I spoke to Happy John, and he said he would like to see that because he would have gone and watched it with his mum. So that might be. I don't know if I'd be able to review that, but
if you watch it, you can review it. I mean, the thing is, I've never seen anything of Downton Abbey, and I'm like, cool.
Well, I just watched that bit at my mum's, so I watched the first one at my mum's, and I thought, it's not bad, you know.
Yeah, I'm really happy when things become a hit, especially things that are off the beaten track, and especially things that are not what people would say this is what should be a hit, and so I'm really happy when that happens. So I find it quite funny how big Downton Abbey became, especially in America. I find it really, really funny, and I'm happy it exists, even though I might never watch any of these films or even the TV show. But until next week, it's a goodbye from me.
Yeah, and it's a goodbye from me, and hopefully we'll have Sharon is away for a couple of weeks, isn't she?
No, I think she's back to next week.
She's back next week. Okay.
Yeah, Sharon's back next week, and then Holly is probably back next week as well.
Right.
But until that time, thank you very much for joining us.